morning, everyone, and welcome to this press meet. I welcome you all on behalf of Veranda and Nursing Bureau. Let me introduce the folks on the dais here. To my right is Mr. Suresh Kalpati. He is the chairman and executive director of Veranda Learning. Next to him is Mr. Rajiv. He is one of the co-founders of Nursing Bureau. To his right, extreme corner, is Mr. Tommy. He is the one of the CEO and co-founder of Nursing Bureau. We are going to share with you where Veranda and Nursing Bureau are exploring a partnership opportunity for skilling for the world, especially in the healthcare sector. But before we start, we'll hand over the mic to Mr. Suresh Kalpati to share the context, share the background. Then we have a small brief presentation for you, and then we'll go into Q&A.
So this is part of a larger initiative, what we call as skilling in India for the world. All of us have known what we did with software services. We started around the year 2000, and a lot of work came to India. And today India provides a significant part of software services that happens worldwide. There are other sectors that have taken off, where India is contributing in terms of people, human resources, whether offshore or on-site, in being able to serve the demands in the world. Skilling in India for the world is an initiative in Veranda, which is a new vertical that we want to focus and build out. And the first initiative that we wanted to look at was to look at nursing. I'll give some background, and I'll give some larger mega trends that we think will create significant demand and our ability, along with our potential partners, to be able to serve this. Over the last, I would say 25-30 years, two distinct things have happened. The longevity worldwide has gone up. This is across underdeveloped to developing to developed economies. The longevity has gone up, advances in medicine, advances in surgical procedures, in pharmaceutical, which has enabled the longevity to significantly go up. The longevity has moved up by almost 30% in the last 30 years. Essentially, it means people are living longer. The second one that has happened is in terms of the population, hence aging. That has largely been driven by birth rates having fallen across the world. People are a lot more comfortable having very nuclear families, single child, probably no child at all. And that also meant that there wasn't any new addition to the workforce or to the population. So it also meant not just longevity, but it also meant the median age of the population was going up more and more and more. The world population was aging. And that has essentially happened in the last 30 years. Various projections have been made because as people age, they are also becoming more frail. Whether we call it senior care, but people need assistance that can be provided through an ability to provide nursing staff. This has happened across the world. The demand projected is expected to be of the order of a crore and a half over the next 7 to 10 years. And India being a place which contributes to close to 15% of the world's population, obviously becomes one of the potential sources that could stand up and deliver to this demand. This is the first initiative that we have looked at as part of skilling in India for the world. And we wanted to be sure that as we approached it, we leverage on our core strengths and work with a potential partner who will be able to significantly complement, so that together we can be able to meet this demand in an efficient and also in a manner at scale. people that I have interacted with in the past, we have always looked at opportunities where we can actually make a difference and not just be an also ran. This demand is significantly large. India as a nation will have the ability to be able to meet this demand if many such partnerships come. I'm not so sure if we are the only one who will be able to meet, but many such partnerships can come. And from whatever I see, that this is an effort that can not just deliver to the demand, but it will also mean significant opportunity to build the national domestic product, and significantly partners who come together can also be quite profitable in the venture. So for us, Nursing EU was a fantastic partner. We're still exploring ways in which we can work together. It's a complete complement to the services that we can provide and how we can jointly meet the demand. With that, I will sort of close my initial remarks and allow Aditya to present it in a bit more detail, and we'll take question and answers after that. Thank you.
Brief presentation about Veranda. Video about Veranda.
At Veranda Learning, we are more than an institution, a movement. Our mission is to educate, empower, and elevate every learner.
At Veranda Learning, we are redefining education. As a listed company, we are proud to offer a diverse range of solutions impacting lives across multiple sectors.
We also excel in commerce education with J.K. Shah classes, Tapasya and Logic.
From academic education through Veranda K-12,
Government test preparation with Veranda Race, Veranda IAS and Talent Academy.
helping students unlock their future.
Vocational training through Edureka, Ironhead, Fire and Six Phrase.
Skilling over 1 million learners in cutting-edge technologies.
6,50,000 plus students trained unlocking new opportunities. With 200 plus centers across Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities, we bring learning closer to them. 8,000 plus students every year trust us to guide their career journeys. 2,000 plus employees dedicated to supporting our learners every day. And with 8 plus languages, we make education accessible to all. At Veranda, collaboration is at the heart of our mission. Through strategic partnerships with corporate and government organizations, we are driving excellence in education. We have trained over 70,000 students through key government initiatives, empowering them with the skills needed for a brighter future.
Every number represents a dream fulfilled, a life transformed. At Veranda Learning, we are shaping the future, one student at a time.
We take pride in the fact that we are truly a lifelong learning partner for a student, starting at schools, ending at colleges, ensuring that we are touching the lives one student at a time at every stage of the journey of a learner. This is the newest initiative where we have started the work on, which, as Suresh mentioned, is about skilling in India for the world. And the first sector being the healthcare sector, and among the healthcare sector, the first focus being is working on ensuring that we skill the nurses for the world, and starting with the European Union, with potential partner like Nursing Europe. So the biggest advantage India has is people. We have 1.4 billion people, a demographic dividend of a young population. We all talk about India being the hub for talent. We have done that in IT, very, very successfully deployed thousands and thousands of IT professionals who have worked on all kinds of technologies across the globe. now there is the opportunity to do it across the sectors. And that's where, for us, healthcare becomes a key sector, as Suresh was mentioning some time back. Aging population across the globe, we have a young population which is educated. How do we prepare them? And workforce mobility becomes a key initiative for the government. Even our Prime Minister and many other leaders talk about India being the hub for the talent worldwide. We at Veranda are starting this initiative, keeping this in mind and aligning with the vision of our government and the priorities for the nation as well. Global healthcare systems, as you all know, there's a massive shortage of healthcare workers. Nurses, are a rare commodity across the globe, right? From whether it's Middle East, Europe, US, name a country, and there is a tremendous shortage of nurses. So while you have many people working on this initiative, there are many companies working on creating partnerships across the globe to supply talent. We wanted to make sure we do it in a structured way. We wanted to make sure we do it in a process which is completely legal and not only just focuses on providing, making sure that somebody lands there and has a job, but ensuring that the respected healthcare worker who leaves Indian shores is not only reaching a country, but is qualified to be mobile across the complete continent. And we'll talk more about in the subsequent slides. So while we work on this process, we have structured in such a way that our, the healthcare worker who goes through the training program with Veranda will have complete mobility across the complete European Union. They will have the accessibility to every country in Europe. And that way, it gives them a longer run in that region and makes them, go ahead in their career much faster. India-Norway partnership. Indian government signed a free trade agreement with Nordic countries a couple of months back, where Nordic countries have committed to invest $100 billion in India in next 15 years. Our Prime Minister is supposed to go there soon. Our Commerce Minister went there a few months back. And India is looking at a much stronger partnership with Nordic countries. Norway being one of them. Our potential partners were sitting here and they'll talk more about it. Are headquartered out of Norway, and and obviously our initiative is not only focused on Norway, but the complete European Union as we go forward and develop this. Veranda, you heard about Veranda, you know about Veranda, you saw the video, but just to kind of repeat myself, we are completely aligned with the government's mission of skilling in India for the world. Healthcare, the first sector we are focused on, and we'll ensure that we play and make a significant impact. In fact, yesterday we were talking in the office, and the first thing which came up was we are not looking at ensuring that we do 200, 300, 400 numbers, 500 numbers. And the idea was we do the numbers which make a significant difference in the healthcare sector in the territory we work in. So we are looking at hitting a number of 2,000 in next 3 years' time, so that we are able to ensure we provide significant employment and career opportunities to our healthcare workers in next 3 years' time and make them completely mobile across the complete European Union. Our partners here, our potential partners here, Nursing Europe, Tommy, Rajiv, they are in the business. Tommy has been in nursing business for over 15 years, and in the end, while he does the Q&A, he'll talk more about it. And they have access to the municipalities, the hospitals, the healthcare infrastructure across the complete European Union. So for us, it's a potential complementary partnership where Veranda plays a role in actively sourcing and training the partners here, training the healthcare workers in India, while the Nursing Europe plays a part in ensuring they get placed at the right hospitals, at the right salaries, and are completely taken care of from their career perspective. So it's a completely complementary relationship, completely complementary partnership. It opens up a complete continent for us, and obviously our intent is to start with Europe and then expand it across the globe. That's where we are. I'll stop here and invite Rajiv.
Born and raised in Norway. And what we're looking into is not only healthcare. Tommy and I discussed this the other day. It's actually, we're talking about life and death, right? Because just recently we had a pandemic, and it kind of put the healthcare sector upside down. And that's where we figured out, how critical this sector is. So being able to position something that's qualified, which is actually not only making a small impact, but it's making a dent, like we discussed yesterday, it's very exciting. So we've been, just to give a quick introduction of Nursing Europe, it started off in Norway, and to just give you a context of Norway, Europe versus India. In Europe, India is looked upon as a continent. The reason, it's not only a country, it's a continent. Looking at the population, it's 1.4, 1.5 billion almost. Looking at Europe, 700 to 800 million. Right? It's half of the size of India. Looking at Norway, which is a northern part of Europe, 5.5 million people in population. It's like a building in Mumbai. So looking at those numbers, it doesn't seem correct to say that it's a lack of nurses, etc. Looking at numbers of nurses per 1,000 in Norway is 14.8. In India, it's less than 2 per 1,000. So it's a very unbalanced. However, because the cultures, the way of actually structuring the healthcare sectors, that's making the demands. Right? So currently in Europe, it's about 1.5 to 2 million nurses are lacking currently. So that gives us the opportunity side. Looking at the numbers and the experience that we've built up. So Tommy started 15 years back in Norway, looking into the shortage, because it's nothing new. It's been there, but it's no one who's tackled it in a correct way. So looking into European markets, we've been testing to recruit within the European market, which is basically, like Tommy says, is like fishing in the same pond. Right? You're not solving an issue. Solving an issue is to actually do the skill development, actually to add more into the pipeline, not fishing from the same pond. So looking into Europe, we had to look outside. First option was Ukraine, where we started training. It's more than 350 nurses that we've trained into the European certification program, which Aditya mentioned, that will give the nurse a flexibility to work anywhere in Europe, which is also something unique. So there's no one having, as far as we know, doing it at that extent, where they actually have a European certification, they have full freedom to work anywhere in Europe, and also to bring that same knowledge and experience elsewhere in the world as well. So Focus Care Group is the largest staffing company, which Tommy established in 2008. Going into staffing, having the lack of resources, and then going into training and upskilling, and then actually tapping into the market. We see that we've just built the base to actually scale it up. So utilizing that experience, we in 2022 launched another bridging facility for Focus Care in Norway, because we see that Norway is not the easiest sell. A lot of Indians doesn't even know where Norway is. It's a small country, it's a different culture, different environment, and not only that, the climate. We can have 4 seasons in one day. We can have snow, sun, rain, and shower in one day, which is, again, it might not be the easiest sell. However, we have clean water, clean air, crime rate is almost 0. So it's a very safe environment, so we can actually place the candidates in a safe environment, make sure that they have a career development opportunity. So we've been testing this for a few years to just make sure that all bits and pieces fit and that we can actually learn from the mistakes we've taken in order to be able to scale. So the process is also dealing with European countries. It's important that it's done in a proper way, which means that the recruitment is done without exploitation, which means that the education they have has been qualified, certified, that the whole process, everything from the sourcing till the employment. So when we make an agreement with a municipality or a hospital, there's going to be conditions that the candidates will have, certain amount of upskilling in their work as well, so they can actually level up their career, not only a job, but they can actually have the career path, which is again back to ethical recruitment and placement. On top of that, we want to do the language tests to make sure that the candidates are ready for the culture, ready for the new country. We do a pre-language skill test, which is before we actually put them through the bridging program, to figure out if this candidate is fit for the languages that we're going to train them in, fit for the culture that we're going to put them into, so that the downside is less also for the candidate. So having the candidates in mind, making sure that they will have a good process throughout their new career path in a new continent. We've done this now with testing everything from the matriculation at the colleges, bringing them over. We have 35 Indians now. They speak better Norwegian than a lot of Norwegians that are born, or foreigners that are born in Norway. So they're now on their way to Norway. The first batch has been tested. We've got another 50 in the pipeline. They're coming into the college starting in March, and then we have another batch that we've kind of trying to learn, what's important for the candidates, what's their issues. Some of them will struggle, they will miss home, they will miss food, they will miss the culture, they will miss the temperature, they will miss a lot of stuff that we're trying to figure out and map out to see that we can bridge them also in an ethical way. Right? So we're trying to handle that kind of stuff as well. And the eligibility for the education, eligibility for the EU certification of their degree in nursing. And also an interesting fact is that taking a bachelor's degree in nursing in Norway, where you have 5.5 million people, let's say you're going to put a needle to take a blood test. In Norway, they do a lot of that on, what's it called?
On the mannequins.
Or mannequins, right? And then you have an Indian nurse who's done that during their education on real people 10 times more than a Norwegian nurse has done. Because again, we can test on people. We have a higher level of practical experience in India than we find in Europe. Which again, so the bridging is not only on the educational side, but it's also experience taken from India teaching in Europe as well. So we're bringing assets, and for me, that's putting India onto the global map. Right? We want to make sure that the level of the candidates' knowledge and experience is as high as we can get it, so that we can actually start getting word of mouth. Right? It's not as scary, because we've seen some of the let's put it in a correct way. It's been a lot of recruitment done. That's nothing new, but it's not the correct bridging in place. So there's been a lot of mishaps in the way that the nurses are getting abroad, but they don't have a chance to either move or to find new opportunities because their level of bridging wasn't there in the beginning. So that's the gap. What we're saying that we want to bridge the gap is not only bridging the gap in the demand, but also bridging the gap in knowledge, experience, and how we can position it. So what we're looking into is EU certification, language courses. We make sure that the employer also has the criteria that we expect them to have, so that we know that the candidates will get into a safe job. We can actually follow that process. cost-efficient solution by actually working closely with the end clients from the very beginning. We will introduce them also into the interviewing process that we've done already, which has worked really good, where actually the end client is in the recruitment phase having the interviews with the candidates and saying, okay, you know what, this candidate fits our purpose, and this is a candidate we will actually handle once they're finished with their bridging programs. The current process that we're refining now is actually looking at the batches that's already in Norway and backtracking, trying to figure out, okay, what's lacking here? What did you miss? What can we do better? Because as long as we can refine the processes and fine tune it, because again, at the end of the day, we're talking about human beings, right? Human beings affect differently, come from different cultures, come from different areas in India, that might have an effect. So we're always continuously having the finger on the pulse to figure out what we can do better. That's going to be the cost effectiveness. Right? So it's not only the process of the physical process, but it's also how we can work together with the candidates. Looking at the global view, the World Health Organization is anticipating a lack of between 10 to 15 million nurses by the year of 2030. I think it's the last numbers that we saw. And we don't have to wait for 2030. We need to start yesterday in order to actually build up for that lack, and also make sure that the skill sets is there, make sure that the correct training, the bridging is in place. So that's the reason we started back in 2022 to just try to figure out how the process could work most effectively and make sure that it's most value for the candidates as well. Because those candidates will actually eventually come back to India, meet with their families, and have the FaceTime calls feeding back how they're actually having it. So if they're doing it good, that word will spread. And that's been one of our main core values in Nursing Europe, is to make sure that the entire process is monitored. Looking at the global outreach, having the European market solved, which might be the hardest nut to crack. That's why we started with Norway being the hardest country in Europe, and then going into Europe, that will ease up the global reach, because you have different languages in Europe. With only English, you can reach out to UK, US, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, which is big markets with one language. If we can crack the European languages, which is about 40 different languages, we can actually set up the entire process to actually be scalable. So with that said, I think we can easily go into the Q&A.
In experience, I have seen many of these same aspects when we used to do the skilling in India for the world in software. And this, I'm saying in the early 90s, mid 90s, when the first set of people from India started going to the United States for work. So I used to actually be in San Francisco picking up these people from the airport, because not just the weather, everything is a shock. Because if somebody has come from Kulatala in Trichy and he's going to land in San Francisco, and for most of them it's the first international flight they are taking. So it starts right from there. For them to come, go through immigration, come out of the airport. So if they see a familiar face, to pick them up at the airport, put them somewhere, understand for them where do you go and buy your groceries, how do you set the temperature in your apartment, maybe take them out to a couple of Indian restaurants in the first few weeks, pick them up on a weekend. So in San Francisco, I remember taking them to the Golden Gate Bridge, to the Alcatraz prison for a tour, through the Crooked Street, to Disneyland, and then they slowly start settling down. It is not easy. It is, in fact, I would think that's a much tougher part than getting them used to nursing. Like Rajiv mentioned, probably given the population, they probably have gone through much more intense internship in nursing than probably some of them in the European Union. So I think that's a much easier part in terms of the actual work-related skills, but it is a complete change, including the language. And this would be Norwegian or German or French, much little of English. So starting from whether the type of clothes they need to pack, the type of shoes they need to wear, the weather pattern. So we used to, I remember giving them a complete guide, starting from getting into a flight in India to landing, and walk them through every possible step. With all of that, I remember having cases of people who get depressed in less than 3 weeks and saying, can I go back? And some of them have stayed on to become today US citizens. But the first few months are rough, it is, and that I think is something hopefully we will be able to bring as part of our experience. I expect to go there to scope out this place completely, to understand how we plan the first 4 weeks for them, almost on a daily basis, just to ensure they get over the hump. The other one that I am starting to see is India has a predominance of female nurses. Uh, and then there are issues of whether the family is okay for the girl child to travel abroad, to work abroad. When people are having some qualms moving from, say, Chennai to Ahmedabad to work, forget going from Chennai to Norway to work. So those are also some of the things that will require tackling beyond just the nursing related, work related skill. Uh, those are the tough ones to solve, and hopefully we will in the first year work to set up a whole lot of these processes in place that addresses all of these challenges uh, before we get on to starting to accelerate, just to ensure we are getting off the base with everything solved. Uh, I think once we get a lot of this done, there is a significant scope to address this demand at scale. And when I say scale, at India type of scale.
We'll be going across the country. Tamil Nadu is one of the critical states. Veranda is headquartered there, so obviously we'll address that. But as a operation, we'll be going wherever talent is available. So that's going to be the philosophy. Yeah.
When I used to have introduction meetings for nurses from southern part of Europe, I always started saying that I want to make one thing clear from day one, and that is Norway is not paradise. I always started there. And most countries in Europe are winter countries, more or less. So what we can promise that we can promise everyone a shock. Our job is just to make that shock bearable. That's what we're doing. And we have a saying in Norway, and this is quite important and a good saying. I mean, that's what keeps us out of mental hospitals. We say that there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothes. So we will work very, very hard on preparing. It's basically blunt honesty, take it quite far. As long as we just have expectation management, I think that it's in the mindset. As long as you're prepared, as well prepared as we can do, then the rest is up to you. And what we've seen so far, coming from Spain also, from southern part of Spain to Norway, is not a walk in the park. And they're practical. And of course, we're talking about Norway. Norway is the extreme. The Scandinavian countries are the extreme. All other countries that's nothing compared to Norway. And Norway will be one of the smallest markets that we will cater to, for us being just 5.5 million people.
Veranda இன்னைக்கு ஒரு நார்வேஜியன் கம்பெனியோட ஒரு பார்ட்னர்ஷிப் எக்ஸ்ப்ளோர் பண்ணுறோம். இது எங்களோட ஸ்கில்லிங் இன் இந்தியா, பட் ஒரு உலகத்தோட டிமாண்டுக்கு சாட்டிஸ்ஃபை பண்ணுற மாதிரி ஹவு டு டூ த ஸ்கில்லிங் இன் இந்தியா. இது மாணவர்கள் மத்தியில் வரவேற்கக்கூடிய ஒரு விஷயமா இருக்கும். இப்போ நம்ம பேசுகிறது ஒரு 10 லட்சம் கூட இல்லை, ஒரு 1 கோடிக்கு மேலே டிமாண்ட் இருக்குது. இது உலகத்தில் இருக்கிற பாப்புலேஷனுக்கு வயசு கூடிக்கிட்டு போகுது. நிறைய பேர் இப்போ நிறைய நாள் இருக்காங்க. முன்னாடி 50 வயசு ஒரு எக்ஸ்பெக்டட் லைஃப்னால் இப்போ வந்து 80 வயசு ஆகிடுச்சு. ஸோ நிறைய பேர் வந்து ஒரு சீனியர் கேர் ஃபெசிலிட்டி, ஹோம் ஃபார் த ஏஜட், நம்ம வேரியஸ் விதமாக கூப்பிடுறோம் அது. ஸோ அவங்கள கேர் பண்ணுறதுக்கு உலக ரீதியில் நிறைய டிமாண்ட் இருக்குது. இது வந்து கோடிக்கணக்கில் இருக்குன்னு உலகத்தில் WHO வந்து அவங்களோட டேட்டா படி இது வந்து ஒரு கோடியில் 1.5 கோடி வரையில் டிமாண்ட் இருக்கும் அப்படின்னு சொல்கிறாங்க. இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு இது சாட்டிஸ்ஃபை பண்ணால் அது ஒரு இந்தியாவிலேருந்து தான் வரணும். நம்ம உலகத்தில் 15% பாப்புலேஷன் இந்தியாவிலேருந்து வருது. இதுக்கு நம்மள மாதிரி ஒரு கம்பெனி எஜுகேஷனில் இருக்கிறவங்க, நார்வேயில் அவங்க வந்து ரொம்ப பெயர் பெற்ற கம்பெனி இந்த நர்சிங் இந்த ஃபீல்டில், 2 பேரும் சேர்ந்து இதை எப்படி நம்ம வந்து ஒரு அட் ஸ்கேல் எப்படி பண்ணுறது, அதாவது 100-200 பண்ணுறதுனால இது வந்து ஒரு பெரிய டிஃப்ரென்ஸ் பண்ண போகிறதில்ல. இது வந்து நம்ம வந்து ஒரு 1000, 10,000, லட்சம் அந்த மாதிரி பண்ண முடியுமான்றது தான் இதோட நோக்கம். இது இன்றைக்கி வந்து நாங்கள் அனௌன்ஸ் பண்ணியிருக்கோம். இது வந்து போகக்கூடிய உங்களுக்கு ஃபர்தர் அப்டேட்ஸ் வரும் as we build this business.
சார் அவங்க கூட எத்தனை வருஷம் டைப் சார்?
இது இன்னும் அது எவ்வளோ வருஷன்னு பண்ணல. ஐடியலி இது வந்து நம்ம அந்த டிமாண்டை மீட் பண்ணுற வரையில் we will build it together jointly, சேர்ந்து பண்ணுறக்கூடிய ஒரு முயற்சி.
கேண்டிடேட்ஸ் வந்து நீங்கள் எப்படி எடுப்பீங்க, அவங்க எப்படி உங்களை கான்டாக்ட் பண்ணுவாங்க, எப்படி?
இது வந்து ஒன்று வந்து இந்த இந்த ப்ரெஸ்ஸு இவங்கள்ட்ட பேசுகிறதே வந்து இதை வந்து நீங்கள் மாணவர்கள் மத்தியில் அதை எடுத்துன்னு போகணும். நாங்களும் வந்து சோஷியல் மீடியா அந்த வழியாகவும் ரீச் பண்ணுவோம். இதை தவிர அட்வர்டைஸ்மெண்ட் வரும் ரெக்ரூட்டிங்க்கு, எங்களோட வெப்சைட் வழியாகவும் பண்ணுவோம். இதை தவிர நிறைய காலேஜஸ் அங்கேயும் வந்து நேர தொடர்பு எங்களுக்கு நிறைய இருக்குது. அது வழியாகவும் மாணவர்களை வந்து டைரெக்டாக அப்ரோச் பண்ணுவோம்.
சார் உங்களோட பொட்டன்ஷியல் வந்து இயர்லி எவ்வளோ சார், எத்தனை பேர் சார் அக்செப்ட் பண்ணுறீங்க?
என்னோட ஆசை கேட்குறீங்க. இது வந்து நம்ம வந்து வருஷத்துக்கு ஒரு 20-30,000 பண்ண முடிஞ்சதுன்னா அட்லீஸ்ட் நம்ம வந்து அந்த ஒரு டிமாண்டுக்கு நம்மளால் பண்ண முயற்சியில் ஒரு வித்தியாசம் வரும் அப்படின்றது தான் முயற்சி. 1 லட்சம் பண்ணால் அதை விட பெட்டர், பட் கடினம்ன்றது என்னோட வியூ.
வெப்சைட் சார் எப்படி
என்ன சொல்லுங்கள்?
இல்லை உங்கள் வெப்சைட் இப்போ நீங்கள் சொன்னால் தானே மக்கள் பார்ப்பாங்க.
இது வந்து எங்களோட வெப்சைட் வந்து www.verandalearning.com. அந்த வெப்சைட்டில் கூடிய சீக்கிரம் இதுக்கு வந்து ஒரு ஸ்பெசிஃபிக் இன்ஃபர்மேஷனும் வெப்சைட்டில் இருக்கும். நன்றி.